know if I need a mic. I'm loud. Do we need one? Is this okay?
How do you feel?
Good. I am overwhelmed. I think I'm just so incredibly grateful to get the story out. It's kind of a heavy thing to hold. And it's like therapy, talking to you on the podcast, being able to go, and create this with Mike. I feel like releasing it has been one of the most healing things ever for me. So I feel good. I feel really good.
Definitely. And I mean, I don't know how many of you have listened to the podcast. If you haven't, what are you doing? You should. And in quite a few of the episodes, we've talked about, Kaisa, your background of really putting on a tough exterior and how hard it has been for you to kind of let your guard down and share these stories. So I think we're all really appreciative that you're doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what was the hardest part of telling your story?
I think the hardest thing for me, and it's hard because my mom is sitting right here in the front row, and I love her so much. I think the hardest thing for me is knowing that going through a deep, dark time and sharing the story now, kind of like maybe how that would affect her. So I think that's the hardest thing. I think just trying to be protective of, like, I've obviously worked through it, and I'm okay, so why do I need to bring that up again? I think that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. And even though that is so hard, I think it is so important, because I can't even imagine how many other people out there feel the same way and maybe feel like they're not yet in that place where they either have an outlet like movement or they're still kind of in that dark place. And I think getting to see someone like you having gone through that and gotten through that is so important for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important things to me right now is to be just like really real and true and honest, because my life now has obviously evolved onto social media, and it's a highlight reel. There's a lot of glitz and glam, and I've just, not to go too deep into this, but when I got on social media, I told myself that when I had a platform that was big enough, whatever that means, that I would kind of shed the highlight reel aspect of what helped me build that platform and start to get really real about behind the smile and everything that I go through and have been through to get there. And I think that those are the most important stories to tell, because we all go through our struggles. It may not be the same thing as me, but we all go through our dark times, and I think it's important to be more honest and real about that and to let people in so that when they are going through them, they know that they're not alone. And so this is, this and the podcast is hopefully the beginning of getting a little bit more real. Not shedding the smile, I'm not gonna let go of that, but going behind the smile a bit more.
Sharing more along with it. Yes. So one of the things that I loved in the film was when you and your mom were talking about you doing sports as a little girl, and as soon as you'd catch wind of like maybe the next level coming, you'd be like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I think sometimes quitting can kind of get a bad rap, and I actually think sometimes quitting or redirecting can be a really positive thing. Have there been times where you've maybe found beauty in redirecting or letting something go?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think quitting can totally have a bad rap. But listen, even back then at 4 or 5 years old, I knew myself. And I think that I don't really know what I was thinking at 4 years old. But looking back, I think the thing was that was too much pressure for me. And I don't think I could handle it. I mean, I am a perfectionist by trade. And even back then, I think I knew myself well enough to know I couldn't handle the pressure. And it wasn't until I was in 8th grade that I committed to a sport, because at that point in time, through a lot of other things, but I was like, I'm old enough now to be able to handle the failures that come with things. But I don't think there's anything wrong with quitting. I don't think it matters what anybody's opinion is about what you're doing, as long as it resonates with you and you're taking care of yourself.
I love what you said about knowing yourself, having that kind of self-awareness piece where if something doesn't feel good, like it's okay to let it go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think the thing is I talk a lot about your tools. And I think one of my things, obviously you guys know I say just move all the time, but movement was always my tool. It doesn't mean that it's everybody else's tool. And I think that that's the thing in life is like finding your tools and having them in your tool belt so that no matter what's going on in your life, you have a way to connect to yourself. And I think that I think that that's the most important thing in life, because I think if you're connected to yourself and you can listen to when yourself is trying to tell you something, I think everything's gonna be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the film and also just now, you talked about reaching kind of the middle school age, and that was when you had committed to soccer, and how big of a turning point that was for you, especially where you were with your mental health. If you could go back and talk to like 13-year-old Kaisa, what would you say to her?
Les, why are you doing that to me?
It's my job. That's why I'm here.
I hate crying. I think I would tell her that she's enough. I think I would tell her that she's loved, that she's enough, and like I would just literally give her the biggest hug and just say it's gonna be okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with dark times, but I was alone in that dark time, and that's, that's hard. So I think I'd just give her as much love as possible. Yeah.
And now, kind of knowing what you know now, when you navigate things, do you feel like you still have a tendency to go inward, or do you kind of handle things differently now?
No, I'm definitely inward. I handle everything through movement. I'm not like, it's literally my therapy. So I think when I have my hard days or things are going on or I need to figure out things, I definitely go to therapy, and I think that that's obviously, helpful, but movement is the tool that helps me connect to myself. And I think that I am a little bit more of an introvert than it may look like, and I think that I only always seem to rely on myself and know that, like, if we are connected, her and I, we'll get through this. But yeah, definitely inward.
Mm-hmm. That's very relatable. Yeah. So speaking of movement, one of the things that you mentioned in the film was talking about another turning point where you stopped doing your own programming and kind of outsourced that. I'm curious how that's maybe changed your relationship with movement when it became maybe less of a job to kind of do your own programming or figure out what's next for the day, and if that's something that's helped even more.
Yeah, I think it goes back to knowing yourself. And I had gotten to the point I had been training, I'd been a trainer for probably 5+ years, and I love training more than anything, but I just was done training myself and writing my programs. And more so than being done writing my programs, I was done working out on my own. I just don't have any interest in working out on my own. For me, movement is a way to not only connect to myself, but to connect to those around me. And so I just was like, I gotta go find a new team. I gotta go find people that I can move with and have fun with, and that's always been my goal. You guys know I don't move to look a certain way. I'm not training for anything anymore. It's literally just to have fun. So I can't remember the last time I wrote a program for myself, so it ain't gonna happen.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So at the opening, you were talking about how we are all made to move. It's what we are put on this earth to do, which I think is such a beautiful sentiment. And I think what's maybe not so beautiful is that a lot of people are very disconnected from that. I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of that, and that is where exercise can be perceived as either a punishment or just something that I don't think a lot of people really look forward to as much as you do. For those people who may be kind of struggling with that, I'm made to move, movement is a good thing, and kind of reframing their mindset around that, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them to be gentle and kind, and it takes time. I think we have been completely brainwashed in terms of what it means to move and where you move out of box. If you start to break it down and think about how odd that is, like we're literally, our bodies are made to move. That's just that, that's who we are. And to think that now we're trying to tell them the only way you can move is if you go buy a membership and you go inside of a box and this and that. So what I'm trying to do is help people shed those thoughts that are put out there and start to understand that movement is whatever you want it to be. I'd say all the time, you can walk, you can dance, you can do yoga, you can work out in a gym and lift weights, like whatever it is that you want it to be. But one of the few things I always say to people when they start is, it's fine if you tell me you hate to work out. Tell me the one thing you do when you move that you hate the least then, and let's start there. Because my thing is, human beings were literally made to move, and when you start moving, your body innately wants to do more of it. You start feeling better, you want to do more of it, and from there the journey begins. But I think it's really important to recognize, and for me as a trainer, to really meet people where they're at. And that was a big learning lesson for me. But to really understand that it's about de-learning and deprogramming everything that we're told. And again, that's why I said I wanted to change the fitness industry. I think it's starting to, it needs to come from the industry as well to change that message.
How do you want to change the fitness industry?
Woo!
Big question.
Yeah, that was a big question. I think that I turned a corner this year, so 2 months. I'm going strong for 2 months. I just kind of decided to be fearless about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, to kind of stand in my power again, and to believe that I have power. And I think that it means being loud, really damn loud, about what I believe to be true and what I believe to be wrong about the industry. I don't believe it's to shit on the industry, because I think in general, I mean, I am a part of it. And I think change comes from within. So I don't feel like an outsider looking at something that I need to change. I feel like I'm within it. I really can't wait to start doing the Train the Trainer courses that we're going to do. And I think it's just being absolutely unapologetic about what I believe, and it will resonate with some people and it won't with others. But I think it's important to be a really loud voice, and to be fearlessly loud about what I'm saying.
Oh, that's so good. Unapologetic about it. So for those of us who are maybe consumers of the fitness industry, like, what can we do to aid that change?
Hitting them. Well, first of all, I'd start with, how do you consume it? I think we all consume it on social media. And so I would really start to challenge what we follow, what we are inundated with on a daily basis. And if it resonates with you and you look at it and it makes you feel good, then more power to it. And that's what we're not all the same. And I think one of the big things coming into this industry when I was younger, I really had to understand that everybody's coming in from all these different avenues. And at the base, whatever gets them to movement, I'm happy, you know? So I'm not out here to judge at all, but I think that if it doesn't feel good, when you look at it, when you consume it, when you go to it, I would highly encourage people to start listening to that, and just start exploring other ways to get connected and to take care of their bodies. They're the only ones that we have.
That's so good. I mean, I think each of us has so much more power than we realize to aid that type of change.
Absolutely. Sure. I mean, I think the thing is like, it's again why I keep going back to being connected, though, because I think the thing is we're so disconnected about what we do. We just scroll through. We don't, it's not even on social media. It's everywhere, and we don't recognize how much we're taking in and the damage that it may possibly be doing. So I think the thing is, do whatever it is that you need to do to get connected to yourself, and as you start to do that and you peel those onion layers back, start paying attention to what makes you feel good. I mean, it's even down to, Liz is here, but it's even, this is my dietitian who I love dearly, but it's even down to foods and the things that you consume. I mean, it's not just social media, it's what you're eating, it's who you're hanging out with. Pay attention. I can look at a carton of ice cream and legit get a stomachache. Like, I know my body's like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, your body will tell you absolutely everything you need to know if you are connected to it.
Absolutely, I love that. So for you, if you have moments where maybe you're feeling a little bit off center, like, what do you do to get reconnected with yourself? Because I feel like that's an ongoing practice.
I move. Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm incredibly lucky that I have found my tool, the most powerful tool for me. I venture away from it a lot, and then my life goes crazy. So I just keep remembering to come back to it. And I think that it's the most powerful tool. I'm not saying that tomorrow I could find a different tool, but it's been the most powerful tool for me, and it's the one that I always go back to really get in touch with her and, to take care of her and do what I need to do.
Yeah, to get centered, to get present. Yeah. So what do you do to recharge when you're not like being Superwoman?
Oh, again, I move. That's gonna sound real redundant.
That's all right.
I move, and I hang out with my family, my friends. I think you guys saw my nieces, and they're over here somewhere, or they may have left. And then my family's all in the front row. I just think it's really important to do the things that make me feel the best and make me the happiest, and they are obviously that. And I work. I absolutely love what I do. I don't know why I'm emotional. I love what I do more than anything. And I'm so incredibly grateful to be in this space. And if I need to be recharged, I legit just go through my scroll of people and I get to look at the team and everybody's comments and see everybody move. And it's the most incredible thing. It's literally the gift that keeps giving back to me. So, yeah, the team.
That's beautiful. That means you're doing the right things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, also in the film, you talked about what happiness looks like for you now and how important it is for you to protect your happiness. What does protecting your happiness look like? What does that mean, letting in and maybe some things that you keep out to stay in that space?
Yeah, I think protecting my happiness is trusting myself, and that no matter what, I know it's me, myself, and I, and she's the most important thing. And I think it's like really believing that. I've done a lot of things in my life for other people. And because I thought that would mean that somebody would love me more or look at me differently. And I think that it was so detrimental to who I was. And I think at this point in time, I've learned that it's not that I don't care what people say, but I care more about how I feel and what I want to do more than anything. And I believe in myself and really, honestly, fearlessly believe in myself now. And that no matter what, at the end of the day, not that I don't care, but I really could care less about what somebody has to say about me. And I'm not out here to impress anybody anymore or to live my life for other people. I'm really just here for me.
Yeah. I have chills. Like I had chills while you were saying that. That was... Yeah. So your story is now out there, which is incredible. It's beautiful. Where do you want to go from here?
I mean, I feel like it would, like in the documentary we even said, I'm just starting, so get ready. Like it's only gonna get louder. I think I feel genuinely so free now that this is out here. It's been a heavy weight. I'm 34 years old. Been carrying around that ball for a long time, and it feels so good to let it go and to be able to, in some sense, I feel like it was the one thing that it's not that somebody had on me, but that I had on myself. And now it's just kind of like, come at me. Like, it's all out there. So I think for me right now, I feel so energized and so empowered to be out there and to be louder and to really, to help people find their happiness. I think for me, people always say, well, why are you saying just move? I'm like, okay, well, how long do you have? Because there's a story behind this. Just move for me is literally the way to simply say, let's get connected to ourselves. Because if we can do that, if you can be connected to yourself and you can always come from a space of what do I need and what's best for me, you're light and you shine so differently in this world. And I say, like, we don't need to get deep into what's going on in our world, but it is a little bit of a dark place right now. And instead of looking at the big macro change, like, how are we gonna do this? I'm like, focus on the micro, focus on the things that you can do on a daily basis to make yourself the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. Because if you can do that, every single person that you encounter, every single room that you walk into, you're gonna leave a completely different place. And I think that's the thing, is like we all have that power, and I hope that people can start to own that. And I think that's how we change, the world around us. Yeah.
Oh, so good, so good. So this is now out there. Also now, obviously, the podcast is out there where you get to share so much of yourself with all of us. I'm curious, does it feel like your relationship with the team, your community, does that feel stronger? Does it feel different now that people know you more?
Yes, absolutely. I think I had said it to you, but it's like, how can somebody ever possibly get connected to me if they don't really know me? And they don't know me by my own doing, because I'm trying to protect myself. So I think it's been absolutely incredible to let that down and to let people in. It's also been incredible because I think once I, do that, then people feel that they're able to kind of connect with me deeper and they tell me their stories. So it's been absolutely incredible. And I think the thing that you realize is we're all in this together. We're all going through our deep, dark times, maybe at different times, but we all have our struggles. We all have those dark times. And I think that's one of the things is if only we could be a little bit more real about going through them, I think that the support that we can bring to one another is incredible.
Absolutely. I think, yes. It's so well said, because I think when more people are sharing their stories, that's when we can all realize we're never the only ones going through something. Even when you're in the thick of it, it feels like it. But the more stories you hear, the more you realize that we've all been through that version of that or are going through that and can be more compassionate with one another.
Yeah, and I think, again, to bring it back to community, I think one of the biggest things in life is being able to feel supported in what you're doing. And obviously we live in a very disconnected world. And so I think that feeling like you can start getting connected to people on a deeper level is so incredibly powerful. Because again, we all go through our shit. And to feel like we're supported as we go through it is extremely important.
Yeah, definitely. I think you sharing your story helps people feel a lot more supported.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am so thankful and grateful. I have had a few nightmares the past week that nobody would show up. And it was Les and I and Mike watching this. So I just want to say I'm so grateful and thankful, and I hope that you guys know that I am so fueled and empowered by the support that you all give me. So I love you, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.